My name is Lance Unger, and today I'm going to talk to you about global warming. Scientists agree that by the year 2100, the Earth is going to rise on average 2 degrees to 9 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, a 2-degree rise in the average temperature of the Earth doesn't seem like much, but it is. And this presentation is going to explain why a 2-degree rise in the average temperature of the Earth can be so impactful and largely negative. So, what is global warming? Well, global warming is the Earth getting warmer. And in this instance, global warming is the Earth getting warmer because of anthropogenic emissions. And anthropogenic is a fancy word for mankind. So, anthropogenic means mankind's influence on the climate. And it's proven that the Earth has gone through periods of warm and cold. It's well documented. There has been ice ages, only to thaw, only to refreeze, to thaw. That's not new, that is not unknown. But what's particularly concerning about this global warming, what's going on right now, is that it's unnatural. It's being spurred on by mankind, and that we are potentially headed into some unprecedented warmth, which is going to affect the climate, which is going to affect a lot of things. So, what are some benefits and challenges of global warming? People who are very concerned about global warming and scientists who really study the impacts that a warming climate has would argue probably that there are no benefits of global warming as we know it. But to just, for argument's sake, some potential benefits of a warming Earth are fewer deaths in the winter. As the Earth warms, the winters will be a little bit less cold. That doesn't mean that there's not going to be severe cold. I know people in Grand Rapids have experienced Arctic blasts. People in New York City experience a week of -20 and say, where's this global warming? Well, it might be -20 in New York, but around the world where it's summer, they're experiencing record heat, just as we have experienced negative heat. So, global warming means warmer winters on average, which means fewer deaths. It doesn't mean it's not going to be cold. Another benefit of a warmer climate is that plants will produce more. Crops will be better, at least at first and at least in theory. Uh, Carbon dioxide is only a trace element in the air all around us, and plants need it to grow. So if there's more carbon in the air, the plants will benefit. But that's a double-edged sword because as crops grow differently, it's going to affect bugs. They're blooming earlier, and it's really going to, people don't really know, as the earth continues to warm, crops grow bigger, they're blooming earlier. It's going to be positive because it might be bigger and then more bountiful, but that also could have some negative aspects as well. Now, what are some challenges of global warming? Well, to really have an impact and to limit carbon emissions, global unity is needed. Uh, if America and if Europe are passing legislation to limit emissions, but Russia and China and India are not, what America and Europe is doing is all in vain because other big time industrialized nations are going to just cancel out with their heavy polluting. Another challenge of global warming is that people don't take it serious and people don't think it's an issue. And part of the reason for that is because of the politics of global warming. And we'll get into that in a little bit too. But yeah, people not believing that it's something to be addressed, people not believing it's something that is negative, just saying, oh, it's just the natural, changes of the earth. That attitude is not helping. So some causes of global warming are the burning of fossil fuels. There are so many different things that we do as humans that release carbon. Obviously cars and you see smokestacks emitting smoke, pollution. But even the smartphones that we use actually release little bits of carbon. So that's an obvious reason or an obvious cause of global warming. Other greenhouse gases like methane are also contributing to global warming, And methane is released in a variety of ways, ways that people don't necessarily always think about. One of them is landfills. Another way that methane is being released is the melting of permafrost. Now, permafrost is soil that is permanently frozen, hence the name, and really has been for decades, or not decades, but centuries and millennia. And as this permafrost is melting, it's releasing a lot of stored methane. And as the methane is released into the air, it contributes to the global warming phenomenon that's occurring, which is, the side effect of global warming is warmth, which in turn melts more permafrost. So it's this cycle that is an issue that I don't think many people are aware of, because global warming has really been impactful in the coldest parts of the Earth. The signs of global warming are really evident there. The melting of permafrost and the methane that is released is one of them. Another way methane is released is with meat production and with the agriculture industry. 14.5% of all greenhouse gases can be attributed to the agriculture industry. Now, that's a pretty startling number. And people say, well, what do you mean? Like, how? But, well, fertilizers, as the previous slide showed, release methane, and fertilizer used to grow food to feed all the cows and other animals. But also cows are gassy, and it's silly, but it's true. Cows and their flatulence release a lot of methane. So that's another way that methane is released. And then a third aspect contributing to global warming is the deforestation of our rainforests. Poor tropical countries who have this abundant resource but need money are cutting down their forests at an alarming rate, largely to plant soy farms and other types of farms to expand their cattle ranches. And all of that is contributing to global warming because trees are kind of a natural filter of the air. Trees store an amazing amount of carbon, and sometimes they're just burning down the rainforest. So burning the trees is releasing the carbon just in that sense. But even if they're clear cutting or harvesting the wood for lumber, it's getting rid of the trees, which is negatively infecting the climate. So those are all some causes of global warming. Now, some current effects that we've already seen from this warming trend is the melting of glaciers and ice caps. NASA has some pretty amazing photos from space of what used to be and what now is from even the 1970s to current, and just how much these huge mountains of fresh water have melted. And where does all that melted water go? Well, it goes into the ocean, which is raising the ocean level, another side effect of global warming. Global warming is also producing more precipitation. The oceans are getting warmer, and that's causing more severe storms. It's causing more precipitation, and obviously longer and more intense heat waves. India just recorded 123 degrees and experienced just a massive heat wave. Southern California a couple months ago experienced some unprecedented heat, and it's only going to continue. Another side effect of global warming is that as the oceans get warmer, it's getting more acidic, and it's killing the coral reefs, and it's really changing the biography of our life in our oceans. So some future side effects of global warming is the continued warming of the Earth. These continued variations in the climate and weather patterns. As the Earth warms, it's going to change the weather patterns. It's going to bring more rain to places that may not have had rain, or it's going to bring even more rain to places that usually have a lot of rain. So, and flooding and heavy rainfalls is all part of this severe weather: hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, drought. It's all going to be increased as the Earth continues to warm and as climate patterns continue to move in this direction that have never really been in recorded history, because the Earth is getting so warm. And all these side effects of global warming are going to negatively affect the human race. Roughly 70% of the Earth's population lives along coastlines. So, as in 100 years, if the ocean levels are up 4 feet and there's severe storms like a Hurricane Sandy that come ashore, it's going to displace really hundreds of millions of people, and that doesn't seem like a good thing, and it's not a good thing, and it's going to be negative for mankind. So those are some future side effects of global warming, and just not there's many more. The politics of global warming. Why don't people believe in global warming? It's largely, I think it's a political thing. If you believe what one party is saying and you believe what other party is saying, you're likely to kind of, a lot of people just stay in that thought process. And unfortunately, the Republican Party in this country dismisses global warming mostly. There's a few that don't. The Democrats have always pushed for legislation and trying to limit emissions, limit the carbon emissions of our big businesses and burning of fossil fuels. But the Republicans represent these big businesses and these big oil companies. So there's some good facts out there that show that big business is pouring money into the Republican Party to have them fight carbon emissions and new legislation that would cost big business money, but overall help the planet. So the politics of global warming is an interesting thing as well, because people don't believe in it largely because they're told not to believe in it. Now, what can be done to prevent it? Everyone can take little steps. Energy efficient cars at home, light bulbs, appliances, windows. They're giving tax credits for efficient homes. That's something new in the last couple decades. Being a smart traveler, planes pollute way more than trains. Taking public transportation is always beneficial. And also another thing I touched about, don't waste your food. There's some alarming statistics about how much food in America just gets thrown away, and eating less meat will also help reduce global warming, because there's going to be less need for cows if people are eating less meat. And then just speak up. Talk to people about your concerns. So in conclusion, global warming is an unnatural trend in the warming of our planet. Anthropogenic emissions, mankind's influence on the climate, is what is really concerning, because the majority of the scientific community believes that carbon emissions and other greenhouse gases, methane, is spurring this warming of the earth. And even if no more carbon was released right now, the earth would still probably warm for over 100 years. So something has to be done. Speak up, talk to friends, talk to neighbors, talk to your elected officials, and let them know that this is something you care about. And hopefully my grandkids, hopefully your grandkids, don't have to live in a world that is much different than the one that we live in now. Thank you.